First of all, I want to thank both of you for coming in today. You know, it shows a lot of courage and commitment in wanting to work on your relationship. Yeah, this is really hard for us. It's not easy. But I think it's necessary. I think we need to work on some things between us. Right?
Word.
See, this happens all the time. Just, yeah, he doesn't even put any effort anymore. It really, So what I'm hearing both of you say is that you'd like to work on some meaningful communication between you and improve that. Am I on the right track with this? Fine, I guess I have to start then, like usual. You know, things just aren't the same. They're not the way they used to be. We just don't communicate anymore. I feel like he doesn't get me. He really doesn't understand who I am. You know, it's just really hard.
I would disagree. I feel like I know you very well. I feel like you never stop talking. How could I possibly not know everything about you?
Just because I
know about Jill's jewelry business. I know about literally every thought that goes through your mind. I know. How could I possibly not know you?
Just because I'm talking, you know, and telling you things doesn't mean you get me and understand me, you know? I think things have changed.
We've been married 14 years. Of course I get you.
Yeah, I don't... Clearly we don't agree on that, because I don't think so.
I don't really know if there is a huge problem. I'm comfortable in this relationship.
Well, I think we need to work on some things. That's for sure.
I'd agree that there's probably room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is about, you know?
Suppose if we're going to get our money's worth.
Yeah, it's all about money, right? Yeah, it's more than that.
Welcome to reality. Money does play a part in this. It, of course, is more than that. Of course.
It's our relationship that's on the line. So I'm wondering if we can just discuss for a moment your current level of satisfaction around your communication with each other. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being completely satisfied with your level of communication and 1 being not at all, where would you put yourself with your current level of satisfaction in terms of communication with each other? Well, I guess I'd say 4.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so you said a 4. Now, I'm wondering, if you look at that same scale, what would a 6 look like in terms of level of satisfaction? Well, maybe if he were to share a bit more, get in touch with his emotions, that would make a difference.
For me, a 6 would be her yelling at me less.
So I'm going to ask you guys a question that might seem a little odd. It's a little bit different, and it's going to use a bit of imagination and creativity. Would that be okay? Sure. I think we're willing to try anything, or at least I am.
Alright.
Suppose that tonight, after our meeting, you go home, go to bed, and fall asleep. While you are sleeping, a miracle happens, and the miracle is that the problem you brought here is solved. The two of you are communicating perfectly. But because you are asleep, you do not know that the miracle has happened. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what will be the first thing to let you know that the miracle has happened?
He'd be, not only sharing his feelings, but his thoughts and dreams and hopes with me, like he used to when we first started dating. Yeah.
We'd get along. I'd wake up. She wouldn't just roll over and ignore me. Maybe get it on. Maybe she could make me some eggs and I could take out the trash and we could just be a happy family. And that'd be a 10 for me. And then when I had to go to work, maybe that'd be alright because I'm doing it for all of us.
Yeah. I'd like that too. All of that sounds great. So it sounds like this might be an appropriate time to co-construct a meaningful goal together. How would that sound?
Good.
Okay. So you've both shared that you want to improve your communication. And I'm wondering if we can break that down a little bit. More specifically, Jamal, you've asked that Alex could maybe understand your perspective and point of view a bit more and listen to what you're having to say. And then, Alex, you've also expressed to Jamal that you're wondering if he can share a bit more about his thoughts and feelings. Am I on the right track finding this kind of goal that might work for you?
Alright. Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable, concrete, attainable, and realistic goal that we could work towards.
Yeah. I think we could work on that. I think that's something that we could do it.
Maybe.
Don't you get started with me.
We're gonna skate to one song only.
Wow. Really exciting stuff, Tyrone.
Yeah. Well, it's great when you can see it in action, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That collaborative process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked how you set that goal.
Yeah.
Very co-constructively. That's not
Exactly.
word, but whatever.
It works.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So let's move on to next stage, stage
Yeah.
2. So at this point, we've already co-constructed a goal. We have an idea about what direction the client wants to go to, how it might look a little bit different in their life, and we've also explored some of their resources. So what do we do next in the next stage?
Well, I think that stage 2 is identify and amplify exceptions.
Yeah. So exceptions. What exactly does that mean then? If we can explain for the viewers at home.
Oh, we can. Exceptions are times when the problem doesn't exist or it's less intense. Exceptions are really the key to solution building. One of the fundamental assumptions of solution-focused family therapy is that exceptions are nearly always present.
Yeah, so I'm wondering how we might be able to find out some questions. What are some of the techniques that we might use in this stage?
Well, exception questions are used to identify exceptions.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So exception questions, basically, you want to find out, as LT's mentioned here, times when this problem hasn't existed. And then beyond that, you also want to explore what made that happen. What was the situation like at the time?
Yeah, and if clients are able to identify exceptions, then we follow up with additional questions about the context that those exceptions occurred in.
Exactly. And the part about amplifying exceptions is to have the client recognize and notice when these exceptions have taken place and that they do exist.
Yeah. So some follow-up questions might be, how did you go about making this exception happen? What was happening differently?
Who was with you at the time? Where were you at the time?
Absolutely. What were you thinking? All of these sort of follow-up questions allow you to amplify the exception.
So perhaps we could take a look at a clip.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves there.
Oh, I did it again.
Reel in them horses.
I did it again.
What if, now I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but some clients I've had in the past are unable to identify exceptions.
Yeah, that can make it more challenging. And, you know, particularly if you're working with a family where they might struggle to identify exceptions. Sometimes you need to even dial it back a little bit. Even work in session to find exceptions to the problem.
Like, can you give me an example, perhaps?
Yeah, so one instance I had working with a family, we had a grandmother who was with a granddaughter, and they had been noting that most of the time they had argued, and they were always, you know, in controversy. And we happened to explore the fact that this was different. They weren't arguing in this moment, and we explored the exception of what made that possible as well.
Neat. I've also heard that if a client is unable to identify exceptions, the therapist can encourage the client to consider even minor exceptions, even small differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if clients are even unable to identify even small differences, then the therapist can invite clients to brainstorm about potential exceptions that might occur in the future.
Exactly.
And even more, if clients can't even identify potential exceptions, they're so enmeshed in that problem story, you might need to reevaluate the problem and goal. Going back to stage one.
Okay.
So now, I would be just really pumped to look at your video.
Okay.
Is that alright with you?
That would be.
Let's move right on in there.
Let's just
Yeah.
get in there.
I'm a puppet on a string, Tracy Island times.
So at this point we've spoke about some times in the past when you haven't communicated well. And I'm wondering if we can take a moment to look at some exceptions. What are some times when pieces of that miracle situation do happen?
Well, sometimes on my birthday she gives me a break.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more than that. I mean, when we do stuff together, when we're, you know, in the same room, you know, that's when we finally share more and talk. Half the time, you know, we're both in separate areas and stuff, and yeah.
Due to time constraints, this process has been accelerated. In a real session, the therapist would delve into these exceptions and try to consider what the client could do in the future to meet their goals.
Excellent job identifying and amplifying exceptions.
Thanks, LT. Now, I think we can move on to the third stage.
What's the third stage?
The third stage is assigning tasks with your clients.
Assigning tasks with your clients is a very important part of solution-focused family therapy.
That's right. It essentially builds off of the previous two stages. It builds off of co-constructing goals, and it also builds off of identifying and amplifying exceptions, and allows clients to put it into practice.
And so, an example of that might be...
What times when an exception occurs, and note more differences.
Observe for positive changes.
Do more of the exceptions and pay attention to the consequences.
Pretend to do a small piece of the miracle picture.
Pretend you know what to do to start solving the problem and try it out.
And finally, think about what you are doing to prevent the situation from getting worse. Great, so now I suppose we get to see an example of you assigning tasks.
Yeah, let's check it out with our family.
Well, not our family.
Right.
Clients who are very unsure about what they want from therapy are usually not given assignments. Those who have a defined complaint are given the task to observe when exceptions occur. Clients who are willing to change are given doing tasks, which amplify existing exceptions and construct different kinds of interactions in their real life.
So I was hoping the two of you might be into trying a bit of an experiment. Something to try between now and our next session. Well, I think we can give it a shot.
It's cheaper than a divorce.
Don't you see? So, Jamal, I'm wondering if you'd be able to try to write down a feeling that you get each day, at least one. So, and this can be any kind of emotion. It doesn't have to be to do with Alex, but it can if you choose. And it could be anything from being frustrated at traffic, or could be, being grateful for Alex making you breakfast in the morning, or being proud of your kids accomplishing some of the things to do with school. And what I'd like you to do is share it at the end of the day with Alex. Does that sound like something that you'd be able to do?
Like once a day? Yeah, I guess I got time for that.
Now, Alex, I'm wondering for your task if you'd be able to listen to what Jamal shares with you at the end of the day. So no matter what he says, just being able to accept it, and whether you find it interesting or dull, just being able to be there for him and listen to what he has to say. Do you think that you'd be able to do that? Yeah, of course I'd be willing to listen, and try to understand where he's coming from, and yeah, I'd be interested in hearing more about his feelings, so I'll try it. So in that way, Jamal, you can increase the amount of feelings and things that you share with Alex, and Alex, you can try listening and understanding Jamal's perspective and what's happening for him. So in a couple weeks, next time we see each other, we'll come back and we'll be able to evaluate together how much you think that these tasks have helped you with your communication and accomplishing your goal.
Wow, you did such a fascinating job of assigning tasks.
Thanks, LP.
Anytime. Well, so what are stages 4 and 5?
Well, if we're moving to stage 4, basically what that means is to evaluate the effectiveness of those tasks.
Oh, okay. So the client's gone home, watched for exceptions, or tried to put into practice some part of their miracle picture.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've come back to therapy, and the two of you will evaluate the effects of those tasks.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to get a sense from the clients how effective they think they've actually been able to accomplish these tasks.
Okay. And stage 5 then?
Mm-hmm. Stage 5 is reevaluating the actual goals, those fundamental goals that you actually collaboratively created in the beginning, starting to find out where the clients are at with those goals.
Oh, okay. So, for instance, if they've set the goal, identified some exceptions, utilized the task to expand and amplify those exceptions, and then you've evaluated and found out that they've attained their goal, then you might need to change that goal or continue on with the work on it.
Exactly. So together you would gauge if you need to make any adjustments, if you need to move back to some of the the previous stages, or perhaps it's time to terminate.
I imagine scaling questions might be a useful skill for evaluating the effectiveness of the tasks and evaluating the goal, how much the goal's been attained.
That's exactly right, yeah. Using those scaling questions that we spoke about earlier, you can actually gauge and find out where the clients actually believe they are with their goals. If they've moved down or if they've moved up in terms of evaluating the accomplishment.
Great. I'm eager to see how you pull this off.
Me too. Let's find out. Welcome back, guys. It's really good to see you both. Now, I hope you had a productive couple weeks here. I'm noticing, Alex, you look quite happy, and I'm wondering if we can explore that a little bit and talk about some of the tasks that you guys did in the past couple weeks. Yeah, I am really happy. Yeah, feels good. We've been sharing, we've been working hard. Yeah.
It's going alright. I feel like it's improving a little bit. Still got some work to do, I think, though.
Yeah. I think there's work to be done, but I think it's looking good. I mean, I appreciate all the hard work you put in.
Thanks. It means a lot. Don't do it.
So it sounds like there's been a lot of great successes, but you still want to work on some things together. Well, he does share. He's been sharing a lot more, and it's nice to hear about some of these things, because I never know what happens during the day, so it's great to hear him finally telling me. Yeah.
I know that she looks forward to like my sharing at the end of every day, and I just sometimes I feel a little pressure to make it something good, you know. Like I'm not just pissed off that CSI Miami got canceled, right? But I suppose that's alright.
So it sounds like you both put a lot of work into this. Now I'm wondering, how effective do you think that this task was in helping you towards your goal? If we're going to look at it on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being not at all and 10 being very effective, what would you say?
Wow, excellent job evaluating those tasks and then reevaluating the goal.
There you have it, yeah. So that gives you a small picture of what it might look like to go through some of those stages and how it would actually come into practice with clients and with the family.
Thank you very much for sharing this
Absolutely.
session with us, Tyrone.
You bet you, Laser Tiger.
Yeah, I've been partnered for 14 years now. You should remember my name, Laser Tiger. It's not forgettable at all. Anyways, we've come down a very long road today into the world of solution-focused family therapy.
We really have, yeah. We've talked about what solution-focused family therapy is, talked about the fundamental assumptions, some misperceptions perhaps.
Yeah, and we showed a model for using solution-focused family therapy and some skills that can help you work within that model.
Exactly. Well, you know, we've had a good time today. You know, we've taken in a whole bunch of letters, your lovely letters.
I'd like to thank everybody but Mike.
Yeah, not so much Mike. But you know what? It's been a great time, and we've learned a lot about each other, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely learned a lot about each other.
Yeah. And we want to thank you for joining us with this week, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Perhaps.
I hope. Fingers crossed, right? Well, that'll be it for us for now, and we'll see you next week.
Just trash in this cup.